Hey, this is Sam Black with my second match with Lantern in Modern. I'm on the draw against a mulligan, and I'm going to keep this hand because I have Lantern and Bell. I can't play a discard spell in the first turn because I have to play a Lantern because of the Glimmer Void. And obviously I'm in a tremendous amount of trouble if my opponent can just immediately blow up my Lantern, but it's very rare that they can do that in game one. So I'm going to keep, as I mentioned. I'm hoping to draw a land. If I draw a land that taps for black, I'll probably lead on a discard spell, though it potentially depends on the matchup. A non-Glimmer Void land that taps for black, obviously. This hand is horrendous against Chalice, since I can't even play a land. And it's even bad against turn 2 Chalice, because I can't cast the discard spell on turn 1. Foothills, Stomping Ground, Ancient Stirrings. I actually have no idea what this deck is. Revealing Grove. Okay. Maybe this is... It's weird to me to play Foothills and Stomping Ground in like red-green Eldrazi. I just don't know what's going on. I'm going to lead Ruins Lantern. Okay, it is Eldrazi. Well, let's see what's going on before we go any further. Lightning Bolt, Endless One, World Breaker, land. Well, we're certainly taking Endless One. And now we know that the plan is to try to stop my opponent from getting to World Breaker mana. Which I guess means I'm playing Bell and activating it. Yeah, I mean, denying lands from just one mill piece is not easy, but I don't really want Mox Opal much anyway, so sure. Alright. Mindstone is probably worse for me than the land, but... It's not that big of a problem if the World Breaker is castable, it just means I need to find an extra bridge. I definitely don't want another discard spell, and I don't want my opponent to have that mountain, so I'm going to Bell in my upkeep. Shredder's good. These discard spells do not do anything. Just forces the lightning bolt to get cast. You don't want a Pyroclasm, just puts this into play. Open to potentially needing to Pyroclasm once they're both in play, but not now. I'm pretty well positioned to be able to empty my hand with these discard spells, so I guess I'll just hold on to them and see if I end up getting a window to use them profitably in the next couple turns. Okay, so bridge is good news. Now I have to figure out how I feel about taking the 6 here. Let's see if I can come close to locking my opponent off lands. Another Matter Reshaper. Yeah, okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I'm just going to try to deny lands for as long as possible. So next turn I'm going to cast Bridge and like Inquisition my own Pyroclasm or something. I don't know. I might as well duress here. It's not getting better. Use your lightning bolt. Yep. I should not have cast that duress. If I hadn't cast it, I could Bell here, and then put the Ensnaring Bridge on top of my deck, having gotten rid of that forest. But since I used the mana, I can't Bell, and I have to work to get rid of the forest later, which is a mistake. Okay, well, we're just going to allow that. It's going to be quite bad if my opponent gets to enough mana. And the Mind Stone makes it more challenging to prevent. No, it doesn't. The Mind Stone, a tiny bit. Because sacrificing the Mind Stone goes down a land. But if it's a Temple or an Eye, it goes back up. Kozilek's Return seems like a perfect card for them to draw. Sure, I'll take a thing rather than not. These all go to the bottom, and then I'm going to play the Pyrite Spellbomb, and I'm going to Inquisition away my own Pyroclasm, because I'm definitely not going to want to kill those Matter Reshapers. And pass the turn and continue trying to landlock my opponent. I could draw this Llanowar Wastes, but I'm not really in a hurry to get more mana. I'd rather just have it milled by the Bell. Alright, more World Breakers for you, I accept. We really need to prevent getting to 7, but that was already the plan. Oh no! I didn't think about how that was going to play out. Alright, well, this is going to be drawing one at a time, and we just have to make sure that nothing horrible happens. So drawing the World Breaker is fine. Drawing Endless One is also fine. That one I'd like to prevent if I can. Thought-Knot Seer's not a problem. Lightning Bolt is an interesting question. Oh, I get to draw Abrupt Decay for the Mind Stone? That's awesome. I think I'm actually comfortable with this Lightning Bolt. Well, a decent amount of mill. I could get greedy, but I feel like this Abrupt Decay gives me some wiggle room. I'll get rid of the Lightning Bolts. Alright, that's definitely going to have to go. Too greedy. Alright, let's kill this. And you can have a land to replace the land that I just killed. It's not too terrible. Inquisition is not a good card to draw. But I don't want to use my mill pieces because I want to be able to use them at the end of my opponent's turn. I do want more Ensnaring Bridges eventually, so I think it's worth just taking this one now. This is just to buy more time for in case I eventually fail. It's not a super high value card, but I think it's better than drawing the Inquisition. Alright, I think I can actually not worry about Kozilek's return now. But let's mill myself, try to get not an Inquisition. Another bridge. Alright, well, I suppose that's building up toward the world where we can stand to get World Breakered several times. Ghost Quarter is good. That sets him back another mana. Okay. Cool. It accepted the lock. So, this is a spot with similar incentives to the last one, except that World Breaker makes me want Surgical Extraction more. Let's bring in Grudges just in case my opponent has access to Chalice. And oh, this is also a little bit different because my opponent has lots of red and green mana, which means they might have things like Ancient Grudge, which make Welding Jar much more tempting. In that world, Needle becomes a little bit less important because my opponent's less likely to be reliant on Ratchet Bomb, having other removal. I think I can actually just move away from Needle. One could stop World Breaker, but even that's likely not important. Let's see. Since I do want Surgical, I think I'm going to give up on Pyroclasm, but I'll leave the one... I don't really want to pyrite the Mimics or Matter Reshapers. Let's try getting away from killing creatures, except with... Pixis is much better here. It's a similar spot to last match where I don't need a lot of mill pieces, but where before Pixis was the worst one, now with World Breaker and potential Ancient Grudges, Pixis becomes more valuable, but I can safely trim a Bell. I don't think I desperately need any of the stuff that I currently don't have in. And I do want all the discard to prevent Chalice. I want the Surgicals to fight Worldbreaker and just whatever by milling stuff and then exiling it. This seems like a reasonable place to be. So I have Lantern Shredder, and I have Opal to try to protect this land. So I'm going to keep. I have Ancient Grudge to deal with Chalice or whatever. So I have to decide if I want to lead with Lantern, Shredder, or Inquisition. The fact that I have Opal plus Glimmervoid means that leading with Inquisition is an option. Having drawn a second Glimmervoid, it's less important to lead with Inquisition because now I can actually get to enough mana to Ancient Grudge a Chalice, which means that I don't know what I'd be super terrified of my opponent playing. So I'm just going to get the Lantern down and start building information. Worldbreaker and Surgical. Okay. As we saw last game, my opponent having Worldbreaker in hand at the beginning of the game might not be a huge problem, so I'm certainly not going to blow up the Lantern to shuffle it. I guess Mindstone gives me some extra value on Ancient Grudge. Crumble to Dust. I don't know that I care about that. Seal of Primordium is annoying. Glad that I guess I'm glad that I played the Lantern rather than the Inquisition. The Inquisition could have taken the seal, but this did save my Glimmervoid. Let's Inquisition here and see what's going on. Reality Smasher, Worldbreaker, one land. This hand does not seem impressive. So I'm basically just trying to landlock my opponent. So you're crumbling the Lantern. I don't really want to draw Welding Jar in the current state of affairs, so I think I just Lantern myself. And I want you to draw Crumble, so I'm not going to Surgical right now. Maybe I should have Shreddered myself. No, this was... I don't particularly want Jar in the graveyard compared to other things. So this is 1 mana away from casting Reality Smasher. There's an argument to Surgical or to shredding my opponent to try to turn on Surgical, given that I know my opponent's hand. Given that I don't have Lantern to try to find... Yeah, I think this is the best way for me to answer this Reality Smasher, is to just try to mill one. So it's certainly not what I'd usually be doing here, but I think it's the best way to protect myself from a relatively immediate threat. That's interesting. I don't love using Ghost Quarter in the face of Crumble to Dust, but it would stop Reality Smasher from coming down. Let's shred my opponent and see if it gives me any options or information. Not really. Do I want to risk it? I think I do. This Opal isn't giving mana, so I think that I want the Ghost Quarter to have mana to cast a bridge. Obviously there's the crumble that I can take. If Ancient Grudge. That's unpleasant. So if I surgical the grudge, I won't actually get rid of my opponent's grudges, but it will force it to get used, and then I can play the other mocks. It's probably worth it. Since the alternative would be on my opponent's turn, they could grudge the Mox and kill my Glimmer Voids. Now at least I get to protect the Glimmer Voids. Very little going on here, but I still can't afford to kill this because I need to be able to draw bridge to get out of this situation. It would really help if I could cast a surgical resolve a surgical this game to feed. Uh-oh. Why wouldn't they just snap that off on my opal and kill my Glimmer Voids? How could I possibly win on one land? If they do it now, I can just draw an artifact. But I didn't. Given that my opponent is playing Ancient Stirrings and Lightning Bolt, I'm going to assume that they don't have Chalice. Which means that I can sideboard pretty differently. No bridge. Here comes Reality Smasher. That wasn't great. bridge and gave my opponent an ancient grudge. Alright, so I'm going to take lethal. So what I want to do is resolve a surgical. Alright. Full 4 ancient grudges. That's pretty terrible for me. But anything else that matters, really? I mean, multiple Seal of Primordiums. 2 Seal of Primordiums, 4 ancient grudge. Mindstone is the only artifact, except for a relic. Relic's kind of annoying. There is an Ulamog, 4 World Breakers. How many basics? Forest Mountain. No wastes. 2 Urborg. Okay. So, knowing what I know now, let's return to sideboarding, where we can probably cut these abrupt decays in favor of spell skites for additional protection from my artifacts. Needle is definitely very not great. I guess I can Needle Seal of Primordium. It's not the worst. Pyroclasm's not good. There's no Mimic. Bell is certainly awkward because of all the abrupt decays or all the ancient grudges in my opponent's deck. Wait, and my ancient grudges are pretty bad. Yeah, I think my ancient grudges are worse than my abrupt decays. Oh, Grafdigger's Cage. Grafdigger's Cage turns off the ancient grudges. Alright, let's... Oh, Inquisition's not good. Do I have enough cards that are not as bad as it? Abrupt Decay is close. I mean, Sundroplet might be... Yeah, I'm just gonna play Artifacts over Inquisitions. Just to make my opals work. I would like to go first. Let's see. Can't really cast spells with this hand, so I guess I have to ship it. This is better. Yeah, I want that. So next turn I Thoughtseize the hope is probably to Thoughtseize an Ancient Grudge and then Surgical it before ever playing an artifact. A lot of Eldrazi lands, 2 Matter Reshapers, a Reality Smasher, and a Thought-Knot Seer. So I could get both Matter Reshapers if I wanted, but I don't think I do. I think I just want to get the Thought-Knot Seer. Yeah, because I don't know when I'm going to be able to cast the bridge, and I don't want this to exile the bridge. I can actually block. I can just put my creature in front of my opponent's creature and not take damage. Reality Smasher, on the other hand, will get me. Land would be great. Alright, well, I have some spell skates to protect my bridge, so that's a start. We certainly don't have the ability to make fast progress from here. Digger's Cage is pretty tempting. I think that protects better than Welding Jar. And that holds Ancient Grudge in the graveyard where I can Surgical it. Spells Guide down. And now my opponent is several outs away from being able to start attacking. Okay, that's not bad. Allows it to resolve, so I could just name Wooded Foothills. What was the rest of my opponent's hand? There is, okay, 2 World Breakers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So my opponent just has World Breaker mana. That was this game? No. No. Ivugan, Mattery Shaper, Temple Smasher. Okay, that makes more sense. I didn't think I was playing against World Breakers this game. Okay, so I could get... My opponent has enough mana that I guess I'm not going to get Wooded Foothills. I can Surgical... Or I can Ghost Quarter Eye once we get close to that being a problem, and then Surgical it, potentially. So I'll just name Seal. Too bad. So each of those is another answer that my opponent needs to find. So certainly a fine draw. Alright, now we're at the point where I need to Ghost Quarter the Eye. Gallant Lantern. Yeah, I have to do this even though I'm about to be able to needle it. Do I want to Surgical it now? I guess I want Urborg to be drawn. Alright, now would be a good time into surgical. My opponent's hand has 2 Cripplevision Forests. Okay. Drawing Worldbreaker. That's annoying. Do I want to shuffle it with Lantern? Probably not. Please just kill a bridge. Totally fine with you killing a bridge. Alright, fine. Bridge gone. No, don't like. Drawing Infernal Tutor is good. Alright, let's Lantern you. I think this is the best thing to do. Just get this and then get back Lantern. My opponent seems to think that's game over, but I do not agree. I have Grafdigger's Cage. So now I have to get Spellskite back. Now I can get Lantern back. Prop Decay is not a useful draw. But there's nothing I can do about it. I don't want to build cards in my hand, and I don't want my opponent to be able to cash that in for something useful at instant speed later. Worldbreaker is kind of annoying. None of these super help with that. I have to shuffle it away. lantern again. It's going to be very hard to win this game in time. Talking through everything does not help this matchup, or this playing this deck. So cash this, pass, that one's fine. Now I'll draw a bell and can start actually establishing a lock. So at this point, I would win this game if time were not an issue. As is, I still have a reasonable chance, but I have to be a little unusually aggressive. The cage makes this a lot easier. Ordinarily, I'd mill this bell and then put it back on top of the Academy runes, but ain't nobody got time for that. So now I'm just going as fast as I can on milling away cards to make sure my opponent doesn't draw anything relevant, make sure I draw all my mill pieces, and deck my opponent as fast as possible to try to win this game in a minute and a half. That one's annoying. Let's exile it. I think that I actually have it needled, but I don't really have time to check. Alright, so my opponent will draw this, and then I'll mill the rest of my opponent's deck before they get to draw another card. No idea what's going on right now. Oh, is it just a giant endless one? We're just making the biggest endless one just to do it? Okay. Yep, you got a 20/20. Alright, now my opponent is making me wait for some amount of time for some reason. We will see if we end up needing to wait the full 5 minutes or not. don't mind a little bit of a breather here. I need to be careful to not get distracted and time out with my 40 seconds, but that's fine. So, let's see, what did I have needled? Yeah, Worldbreaker was needled. Okay, good. And seal. Okay. We can draw, mill, ship. Alright, and now I've F6'd on my opponent's turn, so don't need this stop on my upkeep. We're just hanging out in my opponent's upkeep for some reason. Well, that is the match. That was a pretty interesting one to fight through. Just established a lot of defenses before establishing any control over the top of my opponent's deck, but I was deep enough on those. Grafdigger's Cage was definitely great. Very glad I took that over Ajar. And that is the match officially.